Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Wednesday. It is the 23rd day of September for 2020, and I have some very reflective glasses on today because I'm not seeing very well for some. I think I dozed off. If you hear, by the way, if you hear chainsaws running in the background, it's not at my house, but I pulled down the road today after going to work, and there was this huge oak laying across the street. Yeah, an entire tree, just the whole thing. So we can't say that, Beta didn't leave us with some people with some surprises, because it did for my neighbors. Fortunately, though, it fell away from the house and into the street, so I think everything's good. City is out cleaning it up, and they should have it done pretty quick work. Hey, and again, it looks like we're going to get out of this thing without much issue, right? By the way, good morning to you. I'm Dan Gresham. If you, by way of explanation, you're joining us this morning here on the KFDM Facebook page and you're wondering, what is this? What's going on? Who is this guy? Well, this guy is Dan Gresham, the morning show anchor on KFDM TV and KBTV Fox 4, and have been for more than 30 years, and a citizen of Southeast Texas for the better part of 4 decades. So this is my home, and this is my home, and I'm glad to be in your home this morning. And we generally just come on, we talk about what's happening in our world, our community, and we make it a point to believe on the at-home update that our community starts at our house. That is our world, my world. My world is my home, and it comes out from there. And we focus our attention pretty much on what's happening in our home and homes across Southeast Texas. And then we start there and we look out to the bigger picture. So if it's, like the bullseye or the rings, we try to keep it close and then comes out. We believe local news is important because we believe that's what affects us. Yes. And it's interesting. I said this, and I made a point of saying it when the storm started, that if all you do is watch national news, when something like this is happening, you're going to get a skewed perspective on what's going on. And I don't think that it's necessarily their fault. But for example, this morning, I'm home, working from home for a few minutes. And I thought, well, I'm going to catch up on some national news, see what's happening. And it's like 14 inches of rain inundate the Gulf Coast. And they're showing these images of cars underwater. And if my mom or dad were watching, they would think, oh my gosh, we've got to call them because, these underwater. We're not. But there are, Houston, they had some cars underwater, but they take what is given to them, and that would be true. That's an accurate statement. Some parts of the Gulf Coast did get 14 inches of rain, but we did not get 14 inches of rain since midnight. Some people got 6 or 7. But we did not get 14. And because of that, I think that it's fair to say we're pretty much out of the woods this morning. Unless you happen to be up in the lakes area, you guys are still getting it. Let's go ahead. Let me get this banner out of the way, and we'll go ahead and go to KFDM.com. Let me show you what's going on this morning, and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. There's the latest radar, and I can click on that and kind of pull it up for you. But I do want to show you this. This is showing what's left of, and it's no longer even a depression anymore, but just the remnants of one. But you can see this is Beaumont, and this is Houston. And so it is now north of Beaumont, and it is moving off to the northeast. And you can see what showers we have are there. Let's do this because even that image might be a bit old. So let's go to weather on KFDM.com, and then we can go down to interactive radar, and we can actually kind of get a better idea of what's going on. You can see not even the lakes area now. When you look at this, you can actually see most of it. Bon Weir is getting a little bit of it. Hemphill is still experiencing some of it, and you can barely make it out. Whoops. But running down through there is the Sabine, which is, of course, here we go. Whoops. But anyway, it's there. I'm sorry. I don't know exactly. There we go. You can see it running up through there. So, most of all of Texas is green. Now, if you're north of Lake Charles, Leesville over in that direction, yeah, you're probably still getting most of it. But let me do what we can do best with this, and that's zoom out so you can see everything. And you can see this is pretty much, we're done with this for the most part. You're talking about just a little bit of Texas still with light rain this morning, and then most of the heavier rains are now off into Louisiana, Arkansas, and then I guess we'll move on off that direction. But, for the most part, it's done. And the good news is there's not anything else to talk about. So we don't have to spend this morning going, oh, it's over, but there's storm, I don't know what it would be now, Delta or whatever, that's coming. Because that's not of concern right now. There's nothing out there that we need to be concerned about at this point. So, right? Kind of take a deep breath, look around, take advantage of the situation. I saw a little bit of blue sky actually peeking through the clouds on my drive home this morning. And I know for some folks it may still be raining, light rain, but still, we dodged yet another bullet. Hey, don't forget, if you want to this morning, weigh in. We always invite you to comment while we're doing our live stream. All you have to do is just like you would for any other post on Facebook, you can go over to the side and post up, good morning, I'm watching from, or hey, it's raining at my house, or why are you still talking about this? It's not an event anymore. Tammy, good morning to you. Mary Walford, good morning to you. Hey, Nicole, good morning to you. Chason, as always, a pleasant good day. Tracy Rice, Carter Roberts with us up this morning. Tom, thanks for watching again from Illinois. Always good to see you up with us this morning. Joe, good morning to you as well. Lydia Robertson is watching as well this morning, while Marion's watching over in Orange. Ginger Wells is up with us this morning, and so is Judy Wood. She is watching as well. And then the list goes on. And again, you're welcome to weigh in this morning. May not have time to recognize everybody, but I love looking at all the names and knowing that we've created a community among ourselves that, are here almost every day. Dean, good morning to you. Nice to see you. Well, of course I care. My house too. My home too. Heather McCallion, good morning to you. TxDOT has a site that will show road situations for travel. Yes, they do. It's called traveltexas.com, I think. Drive Texas. I'm sorry, my brain is not quite on the right spot. drivetexas.org, I believe, is where you want to go if you want to know road conditions. And I'm not sure you're going to find any, except maybe over by Brace Bayou in Houston. They had some water standing this morning, but a lot of that water that we saw, a lot of it has gone down. Not to say that you're not going to find some water on the streets. Jackie Ray says, it's not heavy rain, but it's still raining at my house, Northwest Silsbee. David Umberson is up with us this morning, all the way around on the other side of the world. He lives in the Philippines. Good morning, David. Nice to see you this morning. I don't think you have to worry about the relatives back home too much today. Meanwhile, Buffy Smith Wilkie says, good morning, Dan. I'm still watching as I'm visiting Miramar, Florida. Well, that's a good place to be. I would stay there for a while. I don't know. It's probably coming your direction. If you're going to be driving home, Buffy, you might have to drive through some of that if you're going to be driving the interstate. Heather McGallion says it just stopped raining in Evadale. Temps in the 60s. Don't think we're going to get into the 60s, 70s, and we're going to start seeing it warm up again. Barbie Lakey says, still raining hard at Weirgate. Well, if it is, it won't last long. I think you can see that as well as I do. There was some pretty heavy rain overnight, though. I was a little nervous when I woke up. It was like, is it starting? Is it going to be one of those things where we're going to get 10 or 15 inches? And no, we didn't. But as I mentioned yesterday, I think isn't a lot of that born out of the fact that we're just a little bit gun shy after what happened the last couple of years. I think we've earned the anxiety, so to speak. Hey, also this morning, if you want to give us an indication that you're watching, if you want to give us a like, which is the little circle with the thumbs up, that'd be great. That'd be terrific. If you want to give us the heart, if you don't, you want to give us an angry face, that's okay too. It's still an indication that you dropped by. during our live stream and you were here. And I do appreciate every single person who does take a couple of minutes to do that. I mentioned KFDM.com as being a great place to go. Of course, radar is always there. Even when we're not having bad weather, we still have radar on our weather page, along, of course, with the latest forecast. You can go and check out the latest stories on KFDM.com. As we mentioned, beta has been the dominant story as of late, but it's moving out. We also have some stories in about people who are still dealing with issues over in Orange County as a result of Hurricane Laura, that they have not been able to move back into their homes. So that might be something that you want to talk about. Also, would point out that you have a story about a student in Nederland who reported finding a gun in his backpack and was removed from campus. You can go and get the details on that story if you want to. Also, Beaumont City Council voting to reopen 4 major venues that have been closed, and that includes the Event Center, the Civic Center, Jefferson Theater, and Julie Rogers Theater. They were they're scheduled to reopen on October the 1st. There will be some guidelines for all of those venues, as you can imagine, as to capacity and other issues. Obviously, they're going to make people stay within all the CDC guidelines, as you can imagine. Plus, overnight last night, we reported on a fire at an apartment complex in Beaumont, Glen Oaks Apartments in the 500 block of Dowland Road. Nobody was injured. A firefighter was taken to the hospital for heat issues, but he was expected to be released. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. No problem for the folks that live there, other than the fact that they had to get up in the middle of the night and evacuate while they fought the fire. So those are just some of the headlines we're following this morning. Also, you can go to KFDM Facebook page, which you already know about because you're here. This is where you're watching our live stream, but you can go down. You can watch events as they unfold on our Facebook page. You can catch up on the headlines as well. And all of our meteorologists weigh in all the time. You've got Dana, you've got Greg and Chad. You can see they put in a lot of time making sure that you're informed about what's happening on the Facebook page. All right, so that catches you up on the weather news and what's happening in the headlines across Southeast Texas. Just a couple of others, because as we get away from this, we can get back to our trend of talking about a variety of things that are happening around us and answering your questions and comments that you might have. So all you'll have to do is, if you do have a question or a comment, post up. And if I don't read them all now, I will read them as we go on. Let's see. Somebody says, are we to expect any more rain from this storm, or has the rain passed? Alex Hall, I think it would depend on where you are. If you're in the western portion of the viewing area, I would think that you're pretty much done. If you're in the northeastern part of the viewing area up towards, Newton, maybe in that direction, then there's a chance you might see some. But for the most part, the heavy rain, yes, is done. And this thing will move on off. And I'd like to tell you, we got a cold front. It's going to get warm. It's not going to be today. But if you look at the 7-day forecast, by the time you get to the last, say, day 5, 6, and 7, we're back up into close to 90 for our high temps. So that's what's going on there. Diana Jones, let's talk about the CDC guidelines for trick-or-treating. I hate it. You don't have to live by it, Diana. Those are recommendations from the CDC. Those are not laws. They're not something that, is going to be enforced. But those are the suggestions by the CDC. If you're concerned, about it, then they're saying this might be the best way to handle it. And I think that you're probably going to find that a lot of people will abide by it, and you're going to find a lot of people that are not. It's kind of like everything else that's been going on in this country since January of last year. You're going to find, a portion of people who will and a portion of people who won't. But yes, if you didn't see it, the CDC did come out and say probably a good idea not to go door to door trick or treating. And that, doesn't that sound like pretty sound advice? Or wouldn't you expect that from people whose public health is their interest, to say that, if we're telling you to stay 6 feet apart, we're not likely to say, oh, go to a stranger's door, knock on it, and ask for candy and let them breathe on you and you breathe. I mean, that, you wouldn't expect that to come from the CDC or public health officials. So they're doing their due diligence on that. All right. I did want to show you a couple other quick stories, and then I'm going to let you go this morning. One is, a lot of people are talking about, the race for the presidency. A lot of people maybe even talking about local races that are going on. But did you know there's a race for a U.S. Senate seat in Texas? John Cornyn is the incumbent, has a challenger this year, MJ Hager. And I'm not sure a lot of people, it's kind of going under the radar. I'm not sure a lot of people have really talked much about this. It's a good story, though, if you want to find out more about it. It's in the Texas Tribune, and that's just Texas Tribune, all one word, .org. So go check that out if you want to. I did also want to mention that one of my childhood heroes, Gale Sayers, has died at the age of 88. If you're not familiar, he was the Kansas Comet and was the Hall of Fame's youngest inductee for the NFL at the age of 34. But as a kid growing up, I think we all knew who Gale Sayers was. And of course, there's a picture of Gale back in the day. A super nice man. I've met him a couple of times. Just a super gentle heart. Just really a very nice guy. So I'm sorry for his passing, but certainly a life well lived. I think for most people who knew him would say that is true. And then one final note: you always try to end on something light, right? If we're gonna spend some time together, I'm gonna send you off with something not doom and gloom, but something maybe that will kind of lift you up a little bit, give you something to think about. So how's this one? Today is National Great American Pot Pie Day. Now, I don't know about you, but in my house, when I was growing up, chicken pot pies ruled the refrigerator and the freezer. We would fight over chicken pot pies at my house. You know what I'm saying? It would be like, there's only one left. Who's going to get the chicken? And we would literally squabble over who was going to get the Swanson's chicken pot pie. And if you were unlucky, you got stuck with the beef pot pie instead of the chicken pot pie. But again, today, the Great American Pot Pie Day. It was interesting. I was reading this morning that the American chicken pot pie obviously probably came from some of the European pot pies that were out there, right? Some of the meat pies that have existed forever. But we put our own twist on it. The American chicken pot pie was still a little bit different than those European meat pies that were out there. And of course, you could get them very inexpensive. Swanson, by the way, the original creator of the frozen dinners, right, and the chicken pot pies, putting them in everybody's freezer in the 50s, stretching into the 60s. And again, why was another reason that they were so popular? Price. Chicken pot pies were so inexpensive. You could get, somebody said, look, somebody told me they were $4 for $1. Pat, you might be true. I don't remember them being $4 for $1, but I wouldn't be surprised at some point they were $4 for $1. But chicken pot pie. So that being said, I want to encourage you to take it one step further. If you love, like Judy, chicken pot pies, do what Mary is saying. A homemade chicken pot pie. Google, there are thousands of recipes out there. You can find thousands. There literally are hundreds of chicken pot pie recipes. My wife is a great cook, obviously. Look at me. I'm the beneficiary of that good cooking. And she makes a terrific chicken pot pie. Now, the girls make good chicken pot pies for their families as well. So some good recipes out there. It's one of those days, rainy day. Why not? A little bit of comfort food. Get in the kitchen And you know, the other thing, because while I have not made a chicken pot pie, I have certainly watched my wife and helped my wife put them together. They're not that hard, and it doesn't take that long. And then you've got a satisfying meal that harkens back to your childhood, but tastes even a little bit better. And the good thing about a chicken pot pie is they hang around for a while. A good sized pie, a couple of people, yeah, it's good for a couple of meals. So again, I don't know. Like I say, something about food that reminds you of your childhood, or food that ties in, is part of the fabric of who you are. And I think it's fair to say chicken pot pies are one of those comfort foods for many of us here in the South. All right, that pretty much does it for me today. I think we've covered what needs to be done. I do want to remind you that you can also join us on Twitter. If you want to follow me, it's Morning TV Dan. And if you would like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, you certainly can, Dan's at Home. And we post all of our updates on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel as well. So go and subscribe if you would like. Don't forget also, if you're needing more time to know what's going on in the weather, that Dana will be back at noon today on KFDM TV. He'll update the situation. Also, of course, noon, 5:36. It just keeps going, 9 and 10, and then we're back tomorrow morning with an update on KFDM and KBTV as well. Again, dodged a bullet. We are fortunate that we don't have to worry about too much flooding or rain to deal with. So, hey, we'll count our blessings, go out and enjoy our day. You do the same, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow morning. Have a terrific day, everybody.